In this video, I'm going to show you how to automatically extract text from any PDF to use in OpenAI using make.com. What's up, everyone? Brandon here. I've spent the last 2 decades writing code, scaling startups, and building 7-figure businesses. If you want to eliminate manual drudgery and unlock AI superpowers for your business, your team, or your clients, you're in the right place. So let's jump in. So I have my blank canvas here on make.com, and this is just a brand new scenario. And in this example, I'm going to use Notion as the trigger and the location to store a PDF. Instead of Notion, you could use Monday, ClickUp, your email. There's many different ways you can trigger a PDF to enter the scenario. But I'm going to use Notion. I love Notion. I use Notion all the time. And I also used Notion in a previous example showing how to extract data from a CSV file, an Excel file, and use that data within OpenAI. So I'm just going to use that same example file database. And you can see I have the previous CSV LinkedIn data export, which wanted a CSV for the file. And then I created a new property called PDF file attachment. And you can see this this property is just a file upload type. So you can put really any file in there. And the cool thing about Notion is that there's a lot of different ways you can use automations. And one of those automations is a button, and the button can call a webhook. So let's go over and set up a webhook and cover what a webhook is. So if we click on our plus, I'm going to find, there it is, use webhook. We're going to do a custom webhook. And when you create a new webhook, you just click add, and it'll generate some new webhook URL. And I'll explain what it is here in a second. So let's call it, example PDF webhook. There we go. Save. And what that generates is a URL, and it's a public URL. And if anything makes a post request to that URL, it will trigger the scenario when the scenario is running and live through Make. And these are super cool because so many platforms can leverage the webhooks, and webhooks are really powerful because you can send it whatever data you want. You can access it in different ways, and you're not relying on sort of like a pre-built module. So Notion, for example, does have some pre-built modules. What are those? It does have some triggers in its modules. Yeah, so it has watch database items. We could use this, but the button's the easiest way because then I can just push the button instead of having to keep updating the event. But you could have an automation that when you attach a file to this, you can run automation, and the automation would trigger in Notion to actually send the post request to Make. So let's set it up just as our webhook. We need to copy the address URL and then come over to Notion. And we're just going to start really basic just to make sure we have everything set up correctly. And we'll call this beta co PDF example. And now we need to create a button. So the button is don't need an emoji. And we'll do process PDF. And this button, that's the name of the button. Good emoji, probably some like stars. I feel like that's very much the AI, some pretty stars. And the trigger for the button is just the button is pushed. It's the only option we have. And then once you push it, there's a bunch of stuff you can do within Notion, but we just want to call a webhook. Send a webhook is one of the options. And it's pretty straightforward. We put our URL in here that we got from Make. So again, you come over here, you grab this URL, you put the URL in here, and then you select what data you want to send it and click done. So if I click this button now, it's not going to do anything and it's going to fail to execute, which it did. But if I run this, we need to save it. We can run it, process a PDF. You'll see it ran successfully. Come back over and all green check marks. And the nice thing about this is usually what I'll do is I'll do this first just to see what data I'm getting back. Notion's pretty predictable because I've worked with it so much, but ClickUp, Monday, all of the different platforms have different formats for how they send the data. And you really just need to set the webhook up, send something to it, and see what the data looks like. So we have data, Again, this is specific to Notions, properties, and post request. And then we have properties under here for the specific database item. Then we have PDF attachment. And within that, we have this files array, which at the moment is empty. So now we know this is where we're going to dig in to get this file. So let's actually attach a file and see. We're just going PDF. So let's attach a file. Now we have a file attached. Now let's push process P. Actually, let's turn it on first. Click run. So now it's waiting for data. Process a PDF, and it's triggered it. And we should now be able to dig back into our properties and see our file array, and we have our URL. And this is just a URL to the file. You can see it's an AWS server location. There's some keys attached to it to make it available. And now we can do something with that file. So the next step is really just to get the file, the PDF, and then read what's in the file, in the PDF. And there's a few different options. Actually, there's not a few, there's a ton. So if you type in PDF, there's a bunch of different services that you can use to extract data from a PDF, like extract the text. And specifically, what I always look for is some type of OCR technology. The OCR technology won't just pull the text from the PDF, it will actually read any text from an image. And you really want to level up to the OCR level just because you may get PDFs that have images, and that's pretty normal. And it will be the next level of actual text extraction. So I've done a bunch of research on these. The one I like the most actually doesn't even say PDF in it is this Zero Code Kit. I use it for a bunch of stuff, mainly because Zero Code Kit has a ton of different operations that it can perform within Make, which is great, like no code operations. And you can see there's like remove background from an image, check content policy, generate an image, translate text. And so when you have an account with Zero Code Kit, you get credits, and then you just can use these different modules to do different operations, and it takes away from your credits. And it's fantastic because it's stuff that you don't want to actually go and code or build some type of third party piece, or you don't have 20 different vendors that you're paying to do small little tasks. So I like Zero Code Kit, and the PDF OCR has been really good. I don't know if it's fully like the best PDF. I haven't used, there's some super expensive ones. I haven't used like really, really expensive PDF um, tech. But if you find that it's not extracting the text that you need, you might want to level up to one of the other options. But for now, let's just use Zero Code Kit. Oh, I'm already on Zero Code Kit. So we just want the PDF OCR. We'll attach it here. And the cool thing is all that it needs is a URL. Sweet. And guess what? We have a URL. So let's go get our URL and file and URL. And we save it. And now let's see what happens. And just so you know, I have already created the Zero Code Kit. You do need a paid account to be able to do pretty much, I think, any PDF. You might get like one PDF extraction. It ends up coming out, the pricing ends up coming out to be like 0.01, like a penny per process PDF. So you definitely have to keep that in mind when you're building the automation, to think, am I using this as the saving time? The clients I've built this for and use this for are generally saving thousands of dollars because they're generating PDFs that humans are interacting with, extracting text from. So you really just want to be able to calculate, if I'm paying somebody X amount of money and it takes them 10 minutes to extract data from PDF, move it to some type of other location, Excel file, Notion page, some data source, some database, does the cost make sense? Is there an actual ROI there? So in most cases, I would say paying a penny to extract the text and then using OpenAI and paying, OpenAI is going to be 0.001, like less than a penny to process the prompt that we'll run here in a minute. By, hands down, it's always paid for itself. All right, so back to our process. So we have to make sure this is running. So it's running, it's waiting for our button to be pushed. Process PDF, successful. Let's see what happens. So the webhook got triggered and our zero code kit ran, and we should be able to see recognize text. And look at that. It extracted all the text from the PDF that we needed. Now, let me show you what the PDF actually looked like. So, the PDF was a sample invoice that I Googled, sample invoice, and downloaded the first invoice that looked like a good sample invoice. So, I have no idea where I got this from, but it was a good sample invoice for an example. And it pulled the text fantastic. So the cool thing will be to see is OpenAI is really good at taking this jumbled text and actually making sense of it. Sometimes we'll have to train it and kind of point it the right direction for specific layouts of how the text might be, but usually it can make sense of this jumbled mess. Let's try it out. So the next step is to grab our OpenAI module and attach it. And now the goal is really to work backwards and think of the data that we need to get out of the PDF and then create the prompt to extract that data. And again, OpenAI is extremely smart and can get most data. I've run into a few scenarios that it can't get the correct data. And so we just have to think, what data do we need to get from it? And I'll show you in a minute the way I clean up some of these prompts and create some really good prompts for OpenAI and just save myself some time of like hardcore thinking of being a fantastic prompt engineer. So let's create our prompt. The model, I usually just pick the top, the newest model. I would probably want to pick O1. It's just for what you need. We don't need that level of reasoning. O3 has been great. Um, honestly, like any of the 4.0s are fine. The only thing is they're just a little more expensive than the O3, and O3 has reasoning in it. So I found that it sometimes has a little bit better success in when it's looking for data. User, and then we want to create a prompt. So let's start something basic and say, you are a helpful data analyst. I need you to, or we gotta say please extract data from this PDF. And then this is usually where I get tired of writing prompts. And so now let me show you what I usually actually do for prompts. So I throw it over ChatGPT, and this was a new instance I did just to queue it up for this. And I pretty much said, "You are an expert prompt engineer." And this is probably my favorite not favorite use of ChatGPT because I use it for so many things. But this one, this is definitely a good one. So we pretty much say, I started this prompt, but need help finishing it. Please help. And honestly, the prompt I found is to about it. That's about all you need. So let's see what we get. And do some reasoning. Maybe no 3 mini. So fields to extract, company, address, instructions correct. You are a helpful data analyst. Please extract data from this PDF invoice for me. The following text has been extracted via OCR and may contain errors. Much better than how I wrote it. Much, much better. Text to extract, company, address, correct any obvious OCR mistakes, ignore all other text, return a single JSON object. Like this is all stuff that I would have to write or think about, which I would have, but it's so much easier to throw it in here and then have it output it for me. The only thing we need is, this is great. Now please add more data to extract. Think of what might be in an invoice. invoice and add it to the prompt. For example, items, price, quantity, etc. Does a little reasoning. And look at that. Now, obviously, if you needed to change the terms, or if you need to get more specific, by all means, do that. I feel like this is just a good, quick way to create a prompt that you don't need to spend a ton of time thinking about, and it kind of does it for you. So let's use this, and I'll copy this. Actually, here's even better. Oh yeah, it even gives gave an example. This is perfect. So here's our example. Subtotal tax. This is awesome. All right. Great. Now write it as plain text so that I can copy and paste it easily. We'll just leave that. What I find is ChatGPT will many times try to add formatting, and then it's a pain to actually move it anywhere. And it looks like it might be doing that again. Let's see if it doesn't. It might be okay. Sometimes I'll actually tell it to write it as plain text code, and then it will usually get it. But it looks like it got this time. All right, so let's copy this. Ooh, I don't really like the formatting here, but let me just try real quick. Write this as plain text code to make it easy to copy and paste. There we go. Much better. This is kind of the process of creating prompts. Like, you don't need to be a super amazing prompt engineer. You don't need to be anything anymore with AI. It does everything for us. But this creates a good base for at least getting 90% of the way there. You might want to clean it up, but I'm just going to grab this so we can get started. So let's throw this in here. We need to come back. Here's our OCR text. A lot of times I throw this in the end, um, even though I said they were the expert prompt engineer. I'm still going to overwrite this and put it down here just because then I remember that any variables I have are at the bottom. And that's pretty much it. You might want to increase the max completion token. Sometimes I just remove that. Sometimes it has an issue. Let's just double it just to make sure that we get everything. And then we want the output to be JSON. So I clicked the show advanced settings, and then we want it to actually just go and parse the JSON response. And you can see it's going to return a JSON response. And you need to explicitly say return a JSON object for this to work. And it says it here in case you forget. All right, let's save it. And let's run it. See what it looks like. See what happens. Turn this back on and come back, push our button. And there it goes. And it's done. Let's see what it came up with. So we had our webhook, which had our data, went to our OCR, PDF reader, and then it went to OpenAI. And let's look at our results. And here we go. So we have company, Go Rails, invoice number, invoice date, purchase order, bill to. Here's our date. We have items. Get one item. See if it was right. Subscription. $19. Quantity 1. Amount $19. Subtotal $19. Tax 0. Shipping 0. Shipping's empty, which we wanted it to be null if it was empty. Total $19. Currency USD. Contact. There's our contact address. So it's pretty sweet. So that ended up getting all the data we needed. And the next step would be, could we test a more advanced invoice, test other PDFs? Let's say, for example, you want to pull summaries of just the PDF in general, pull information from the PDF. If you wanted to prepare the PDF to be able to turn into a chatbot, ask it questions, like that's all stuff you could do within this process. That's pretty much it. Those are the building blocks for the foundation of getting the information from a PDF and using it within OpenAI. Hopefully, these puzzle pieces help you think of what you could build and how you could build it. But this usually would cost a VA a good amount of money to go through this, a team member a good amount of money to go through this. So you think about onboarding, you think about client reports, you think about financials, repeatable systems that you get a PDF. This could check your email for PDFs and send you a summary of what the PDF was. It could look for specific words in PDFs and trigger, emails or notifications to team members. And this is super cool and super advanced stuff. And the final step would be to send some data back to Notion as an example. So let's grab our Notion module and we will use the append database item content. This is pretty much just going to add content to the page that we've created. And I've already done the connection. Whenever you connect to any of these modules, usually it's just a pop-up that says login, or it might be an API key. You have to go generate an API key and come back and put the API key in, but it always walks you through what you need to do. We'll do enter manually, and then we'll get the ID that was sent in the webhook. So let's grab the ID, and then we just want to add some content to it. So just for fun, let's add an H3, like a header, to the content and say a new invoice was created. And then, oops, I didn't mean to save it. No, it doesn't matter. I want to save it, but didn't mean to close it. And then let's add some data to it. And then item 2, the next piece we're going to add is just going to be paragraph. So you could picture what you could do with that object, the JSON object that you got from OpenAI. You could put it into a database. You could put it into have OpenAI actually make a summary of it and just put the text of the summary and say, hey, I saw there's a PDF attached. Here is the summary of that PDF. Here's the TLDR of the PDF. Super cool stuff. But for now, let's just do a quick, just kind of output some of the data that we got. So paragraph, we'll do text, and then we'll say a new invoice was created. And then we'll just add some data. So we'll do like company. We'll throw some of the data in here. That gives us an idea. So let's close this, save it. And we should have our full process. So we'll get the scenario running and trigger it over here. So we have the PDF attached. We'll do process PDF. We get success. We're coming back to our make scenario. Our webhook was triggered. Zero Code Kit went and got the PDF, the text from the PDF. Our OpenAI is running. And OpenAI finished, and the Notion text was added to the page. So let's go back to our page and see what we got. Check it out. There we go. So new invoice was created. Company, example, contact, due date, total due, item count, bill to, our customer. Pretty sweet. And if you learned something new, please give this video a thumbs up and consider subscribing. And then check out one of my next videos.